one's coming to save you. So what are you gonna do about it? Raw Minds on men's mental health. Hosted by Erick. For the ones we never meet.
Today on Raw Minds, we have a conversation that is going to hit a lot deeper than people expect. Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards is an author, inspirational speaker, spiritual counselor, and the mind behind the Venus flytrap, sex lies, and repercussions. But this isn't just about a book about love. This is about obsession. This is about losing yourself inside something you thought was love. This is about shame, desire, control, self-discipline, toxic patterns, and the moment you finally have to look in the mirror and admit the truth. Stephen grew up in Blackpool, England, later moved to Florida, built his life, built success, and then he went through the kind of personal chaos that focused a man to either stay buried in his own story or finally tell the truth. And that is why this conversation matters, because a lot of men do not talk about this stuff. They do not talk about the relationships that broke them. They do not talk about the chaos they made when we're lonely, lost, ashamed, or chasing something that was destroying them. They don't talk about how love can turn into control. They don't talk about how passion becomes addiction. They don't talk about the shame that keeps a person silent. So today we are going there. We're talking about the Venus flytrap, the truth behind the book, the cost of toxic love, the lies we all tell ourselves, the pain we hide, and how a person starts rebuilding after life exposes everything. I just want to say thank you, Stephen. Welcome to Raw Minds, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And yeah, there's a lot in that story, right? I'm like, whoa, yeah, he's right. Yeah, that's in there too. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man. Yeah. So we're going to have a good time. And we're going to make sure that everybody leaves here with some valuable tools and some things they can use immediately to make their life better. And if we get into talking about the book, that'll be a bonus.
Definitely. Oh, we're going to talk about the book too, because that's your life, man. You know what I mean? And right. And I mean, I want people also to be able to, you got a three free chapters, which I want to, if we can, we'll start plugging all that. I'm getting excited here.
I forgot to mention it, man. I was like, I'm fully getting into the show. Yeah. So, I mean, you don't know anything about the book yet, but it's an amazing book. I know I would say that, but it really is, right? I've probably read it 20 times, and I've written four books before. I maybe read them once. Anyway, it's an amazing book, and you'll get a little bit of gist of the story, I'm sure, today. But you can get the first 3 chapters of the book for free because of Erick, right? And also because I know if you read 3 chapters, you're going to be in. You're going to want to read the whole darn thing because it's that cool. And it's funny, right? I'm from England. I have an amazing sense of humor. Not that everybody from England does, but I'm an exception. But it is really funny. You'll really enjoy that. And it's very sexy. It's very raw. And it's also... it's tragic in parts, right? It's everything you'd want in a story, right? And it's a true story. It really did happen. People say to me, or I actually say to people in the book, and I talk to people like I'm talking to you in the book. And I go, listen, there's going to be 3 things you're going to say sooner rather than later by reading this book. You're going to say, there's no way that's true. That can't have happened. Nobody could be that stupid. Well, it did. It is. And I was, right? So that also makes it pretty hilarious. And I laugh at myself a lot in the book because I may as well laugh at myself because other people do, right? So yeah, first 3 chapters of the book. You can also get a complimentary 30-minute session with me, coaching session, whatever you want to call it, so that we can see if we vibe, see if you think that I can help you with whatever's going on in your life right now and maybe live a more exciting, more real, authentic life in reality. So that's that. And I think the website's on there too. And
yes, yeah, we got
a bunch of
right here too.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for.
And then you got your Instagram too. People can check out your Instagram too. Instagram. I got you. Don't worry. I got you, man.
I'm useless at self-promotion, man. I got to get it better at that. My team say that. You didn't say this. You didn't say that. I go, yeah, I know, but whatever. They love me anyway.
Don't worry. I got them. I got you guys. And everything will be in the and everything will be in the bio too. So there'll be a lot more links and stuff like that. So check it out.
Beautiful. I appreciate that.
So before the speaker, before the author, and before all of this, who was Stephen before? Where did it all start?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm kidding, right? So like you said earlier, it's all a blur.
I love that.
But I love it.
I was
born, as you said, in Blackpool, England, and that's where I'm from. And so growing up, I was just this snotty little kid, right? Who had trauma just like everybody else, it seems, right? But you don't know that when you're a kid, right? You have no idea what the kids are going through. You think the only one, right? It's not like as a kid you go to school and then you go to the, you go to the playground, and at the playground break, you all get in a huddle and go, "Hey, listen, man, are you having trauma?" Because it's a nightmare at my house, right? We don't do that. We keep it buried,
No,
right? It's almost like we are ashamed of it, right? We
definitely.
don't find out till later on that everyone was going through the same thing. So I used, for me, and people can relate to this. And the reason I tell people this, and the reason I share it in the book, because one of the things I've learned from all this is that vulnerability is a power. When you
Yeah.
can make yourself vulnerable, it's a power. It's amazing how things change from that one thing. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable, right? So I had this trauma in my childhood to where I didn't feel I could move in my house. My parents were both very controlling, gaslight. They were gaslighting. And one of the things that sticks in my mind as a kid is my parents, when they didn't want me to do something, but every other kid did, they would say, "You don't want to do that, do you, Stephen?" So now it's impossible to say, "Yeah, I would really like to do that," right?
Mhm.
So they would shut me down, things like that, manipulation. So by the time I'm 6 or 7, in order to get to sleep, I had to bang my head on the pillow until I was exhausted to fall asleep.
Really?
And I couldn't get to sleep any other way. And I felt like in my house, I was in a straitjacket. I couldn't move, right? I hated it. The best thing that could happen is my parents would be out and I'd be alone at home. So all I wanted to do was run away. And I did. I ran away 8 times, but they kept catching me and bringing me back until I was 16 and I left home. And I was absolutely freaking determined not to go back. Right. So I really put all my energy into whatever I was doing. So, for example, I owned my own home when I was 17.
Wow.
It was a party house, but I was also intensely focused on my career, my business. I made a lot of money, right? And that was a pattern that followed me through my life because I was and am so intense. And I was so intense because of my childhood, right? So anyway, when I was 16, talk about being in a straitjacket, I was admitted to an insane asylum. Probably wouldn't call it an insane asylum today,
Mhm.
right? But that's what it was because of all this stress, all this pressure, all this anger, right? Rage that I had inside me. You want to talk about raw? I just wanted to scream, but I couldn't even do that either. So I got admitted to this mental institution when I was 16. They gave me ECT, which is electroconvulsive therapy, which is a lot of fun. They get these electric cables on your head and they shoot like
Yeah.
4,000 and you go into a convulsion. You literally do that, right?
Like
So
you're getting tasered by like the cops or
yeah,
something
right.
like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're under
In a
life.
sense, I don't know.
No,
That's the first thing
that's
I've
exactly
been
what it is.
watching cops a lot on my TV, so that's what just
Yeah,
popped
yeah.
up.
And if you go on the internet, you go to YouTube and you put it in there, it'll show you people like it's you
Really?
don't know that when you're going through it. But it did burn away part of my memory. But anyway, so there's certain areas of my memory that are gone. And because they don't want you to remember it. Anyway, so I went through that. And of course, this is way back when, but even now, mental illness can be something that people don't want to talk about, right?
Mhm.
But back then, it was taboo. I mean, if you're in a mental asylum, "Oh, you're crazy, don't want anything over him." So there's a lot of shame with that, right? And we
Mhm.
can adapt shame from a lot of different things. That was one for me. And then the other one, it sounds funny now, but wasn't at the time, So we're playing soccer. We go to they go to the showers. And of course, some kid is going to get picked on for having a small dick, right?
Yeah,
Whether they
yeah,
do or they don't, it doesn't matter. And the rest of the kids are all like, "Oh, yeah, yeah," because they don't want it to be them, right? So they
yeah,
pile on, right? And then, of course, it gets all around the school.
yeah, yeah.
So as we'll get
Well,
to
kids are
later,
evil. Let's just say it. Kids are mean and evil,
oh, they
and
are,
it's
right? They
you know,
absolutely are. Yeah,
yeah,
and part of the reason is what I just said. Well, it's fine if it's you, as long
yeah,
as it's not me, I'm okay, right?
yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
really why it happens, right? So anyway, of course, you don't know that as a kid. You just think, I got a small dick, I suck. But anyway, but all these things eventually actually proved to be blessings for me. How is it possible? Everybody in the school says you have a small dick. How can that possibly work in your favor? I'm going to explain. And it's powerful, right? And the same thing with being in a mental institution and having this mental illness ended up being a powerful gift to me. But at the time, it was trauma. At the time,
Yeah.
I had shame. And so I went through my life repeating these patterns, many of them, right? One of them was when I was at home as a kid, when my parents were there, my father would be, say, "What are you doing? Do it this way. Do it." And so it creates anxiety, right? And so that anxiety makes you feel overwhelmed. And when you're
Mhm.
overwhelmed, you just want to run away, which is why I ran away from home 8 times, right? Because it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
constant pressure, constant stress. So because I wanted to run away, it's a pattern that doesn't stop when you leave the premises, right?
Yeah,
So even when I left home, I was still running most of my life, Eric, right? Most of my life. And then when I was a kid, across the street from us, there was a dog, right? That is a little terrier, but he had a Napoleon syndrome, right? He was going to beat every dog that came by. He didn't care, right? And to the point where he would chase cars. So a car would drive by and he'd be off down the street chasing this car. And of course, the car was going anyway, but in his mind, he'd chase the car away, right? Because the car was scared of him, right? And he come walking back, Anyway, one day he's chasing this car and the car stopped in the middle of the road. Now he's running full tilt. Boom! He runs into the back of the car, right? And he whimpers and he starts running in the opposite direction. Why is he running in the opposite direction? Because he was running away from the pain. And he thought if he ran fast enough, he could run faster than the pain and the pain would go away. That was me. I had a lot of pain from my childhood that I was just running away from. And I was too afraid to look back, face it, and deal with it. And so I was constantly running. I ended up, not just in England. I lived all over England at one time. I lived in 48 of the 50 states in America, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
That's a lot of running, right?
Yeah.
But eventually you start to realize, listen, wherever I go, there I am, right? Wherever you go, there you are. So that pattern showed up in my relationships. These patterns show up everywhere in your life, right? So by the time I experienced this story, which is a true story, I had already had 4 marriages. I was going through my 4th divorce. Why? People say, you had 4 marriages. What was wrong with all these women? And I go, listen, it's a simple question of math, right? 4 women, 4 marriages, and in all those marriages, there's only one constant. That was me, right? So it was me, right? There was a problem with me. And so what would happen when I get married? I mean, I never got married to get divorced. But what would happen is when I got to a point in the relationship where I thought the problem was permanent, or I didn't know what to do, and it just became overwhelming, what did I do? I ran away, right?
Yeah.
I ran away. So these patterns, like I said, created usually, not always, but usually in your childhood, you just repeat them over and over and over again until either on your own, you realize it, you see it, or you have someone help you, but you're going to keep doing it until it's solved. And that's why I say to people, listen, prevention before the cure, right? It's much better to do this work on yourself. Because here's the thing. I mean, I don't remember at school there was any class on, how to be in a relationship, how to be in a marriage, how to live your life, or on solving childhood issues. There were none of those classes in my school, right?
Yeah. Mine either.
Right. Yeah. What I mean? You're just supposed to figure it out. And, for guys, it was, you got to be strong, Big boys never cry, right? You just have to push through it. You got to be strong. Emotions are bad. Never be vulnerable. All these things, right? Which is complete bullshit. Right. And what that does is shuts you down emotionally. And, women are not looking for emotionally shut down men, right? They're looking for men that can listen to them, appreciate that they're different and they want to share emotions and you don't need to fix it, right? All these things that we're not taught as kids. We're not taught that we're different. We're just taught that women are crazy or weird, right? They're just different. Anyway, so I'll go through these experiences. And the other thing I mentioned was I was intense, right? I was very focused on my business, my career, whatever I'm doing, right? Because it's a way to escape. That's a way to escape.
So you put yourself into your work or whatever it is to get yourself. See, I did that too. When I had my own business for a while, and that's what I did is I put myself into that because my daughter got viciously mauled by a dog and had 400 stitches in her face, and then everything in my life in that point kind of just crumbled. Her mom went one way, even to the point where like taking my daughter for 3 months, and I ended up trying to take my own life. Waking up 2 days later. And I mean, but in between that time, I used work just to get away. That was my, you know what I mean? That was all I had. And I'd be working 12 hours, I'd try to do as much hours as I can. I didn't want to go home, right? That was my, I guess, my get out of like my head area where I didn't have to worry about, life and all that, and I just have to worry about building that high rise because I used to build high rises, So
yeah, it was your distraction from the pain.
Yeah, definitely.
It was your distraction from the pain. So you weren't in pain while you're focusing on that. Me too, right? And so I'd pour myself into whatever I'm doing. And people say, well, you got to work hard, But the bottom line is you can work way too hard, right? To the point where, and it's going to happen if you work too hard. So little warning here. it's all good for a while, but it's not going to last and you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, everything just collapses, right? And that's what happened to me, well, for me, right? So I would go into these things and I'd be super successful and I'd make money or whatever, do it really well. And then I would just get burned out. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. And so it was build, let it implode, rebuild myself over and over and over again, which again has silver linings because this is the belief behind all this. And when you were telling me about your daughter getting mauled by a dog and having 400 freaking stitches, man, I'm going, listen, I had no problems, right? Because you can't look at it in a way. We're not here to, there's a famous skit by Monty Python. You probably don't even remember Monty Python.
I love Monty Python. What are you talking? Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where they're all sitting outside on the deck and they're all talking about their childhood? And one says, we used to live in a shoebox in the middle of the road. We used to get up in the morning, half an hour before we went to bed, and lick road clean with tongue. You had it easy. We used to go work down at MILF. They just go on and on. They're exaggerated, right? And they're all trying to better each other, right? In terms of how bad they had it, right? It doesn't make any sense. But it's all trauma, right?
Well, that's called Trauma Olympics right there. That's what Trauma Olympics, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody's trying to get to that podium, right?
It's like that scene out of Jaws as well when they're standing on the back of the boat and they're all showing each other scars, right? Anyway, it's hilarious. But anyway, so I forgot what I was saying, but I was saying something about trauma, I think, and that we all.
Sorry, man, I cut you off. Taking that away.
No. Hey,
you're just talking about you're talking about my daughter. You said, and you're comparing that to something.
Before I thought about your daughter, but yeah. So anyway, I had this pattern where I'd build things up, let them implode, rebuild, and like everything I've talked about. Everything happens for you. That's my belief. So nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Now, first thing, that doesn't mean somebody didn't do something. But if you can accept that at some level, that's a gift for you, there's a silver lining and there's something for you to learn about yourself, that it's all mirrors. Say it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all mirrors. Life is a mirror. It's mirroring you back at you. And if you can take that on and you can say, it's happening for me. Where? How? Initially, it's not going to be easy because you're going to be pissed off that in your mind, this person did something to you. But then you turn into a victim, right? And it's okay to be a victim for a little while, maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks, but you don't want to stay there, right? You got to come out of it. And then say, okay, it's sometimes with resentment and resistance, you go, okay, so this happened before me, huh? All right, this is going to be fucking good. Explain that to me. I'm talking to myself, right? Let me give you an example, a little example here from them. So in this relationship, I told you I was in a mental asylum when I was 16. So was she. What are the chances, right? It's all perfect. You're pulling the right person in, right? So we were both fucking crazy, right? So anyway, you bring that together, two strong personalities. She's a former international supermodel, born into a very wealthy family. Her father's a billionaire. I'm doing very well financially. So we're both freaking brats, right? We both get what we want when we want it. And now you bring us both together in a relationship. That's either a recipe for a great marriage or fucking nuclear warfare, right? So with us, it was nuclear warfare, right? We were arguing all the time. We would break up, and then we'd have makeup sex and it was all good. So that becomes an addiction, right?
Yeah.
I was addicted to her, right? She was addicted to alcohol, to drugs, and to sex. Not a bad combination, right? When you're living in a mansion with a sex room. So anyway, she became my magnificent obsession. But what I had to come to terms with, not right away, because you have to forget what you know in order to have experiences. Otherwise, you couldn't have the experiences, right? And I believe, it's my belief, doesn't mean it's true, that the universe brings the right people into our lives all the time for us to face ourselves. It's not about them, right? It's about you. Right? What are you seeing in that other person, in that situation, that is a reflection of characteristics that you have within you, that you're not using or you haven't owned or you're judging, right? It can be a multitude of things, but it's all mirrors, right? And that's not easy to take on immediately. So case in point, we're going through this mad, crazy relationship, and it's complete freaking madness, right? The stuff we get up to. But at one point, we're broken up. She was living in her house, but she was also living at my house some of the time. And I had to go away on a speaking engagement, right? So I go for 4 days, right? And we're broken up. And she knows when I'm going to leave the house and come back, right? I mean,
yeah, you guys are used to it, right? Yeah.
So we're broken up. She's gone somewhere. She's taken one of my cars and is on the binge, right? So anyway, I go away. And of course, that night she comes back to the house because she knows I'm not there, right? She breaks in and the alarm goes off, right? So as it happened at that time, there'd been some other things going on in the neighborhood, and the police had been a little slow to react in the mind of the director of the community anyway. So the director of the community calls the police chief and says, listen, you guys are just not responding well. And, we're paying all these taxes. It's a pretty wealthy neighborhood. Right? Of course, the police chief's not happy about that. That pissed him off, right? So then the alarm goes off at my house, and he's like, okay, let me show you how hot we can come in, right? So he sends like 6 squad cars. It's a fucking alarm, it's not like a major, there's no terrorists in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
6 squad cars, 2 SUVs, 4 police dogs. The dogs are running through all the gardens, and he's like making sure they're going through everybody's freaking garden. It's 1 a.m. The whole freaking neighborhood is lit up by police lights, and people are getting out of bed and going, what the hell is going on, right? Talk about making a freaking entrance, right?
No kidding.
And she sat there in, back then I was making millions of dollars, right? So she's sitting in the driveway in my Bentley GTC with the roof down and like sitting like this, the damsel in distress, fabulous, gorgeous, right? All these sheriffs all around her. She's got them all wrapped around a little finger, right? So they call me and they go, yeah, she's here. I go, what's going on? Well, she broke in and set the alarm off, but she wants to get in the house. I went, under no circumstances, let her in that house, right? Because, well, I've told you she's crazy, right? I mean, there's going to be major retribution, right?
No kidding.
Anyway, so he says, let me call you back, right? So eventually he calls me back. He goes, yeah, we just talked to the chief of police. He says, we got to let her in. I'm like, no. Right? He puts the phone down. Right? So now I'm away for 3 days thinking, what? Oh my God, what's it going to look like when I get back, right? So I get home. Of course, she's not there, right? She's gone. So is the car. So I get in the house. I'm looking around. And everything's fine. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. This doesn't make any sense, right? So I go in the kitchen. I put the kettle on. I have a cup of tea, right? So I leave the kitchen. I come back and the kettle's not boiling. It's the thing again, right? The light doesn't go on. I look behind the kettle. She snipped the wire. See, you got it right away. That's not the only thing she's done that to, right? Oh, every freaking appliance in the house, wires are cut. So I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. One of the other traumas I had when I was a kid was my mom sent me to school in school clothes that were way too big for me, right? I had a Parker overcoat that dragged on the floor. I had to roll up the sleeve so I could see my hands. There was a hood on it with a fur. I looked like the Grim Reaper, right? And of course, you know how kids are, man. They're merciless, right? So they're just humiliating me all the way to school, right? And that school. And the teachers weren't any better. So I had to get out of the pain, right? And so by the time I was 9 years of age, I'm buying my own school clothes, right? Because I didn't want to be humiliated anymore. And so clothes became very important to me. It's like I had to be immaculate. I had the latest thing, whatever it was, right? So now I'm in my house. And at this time, as I said, I'm making a lot of money. So I had a wardrobe to die for, right? And I'm thinking, oh, no. I go to the closet, right? Everything looked fine. So I walk in the closet and, I pull the clothes back. She's cut them all to fucking shreds, man. All of them, right? And the shoe, everything, right? So my point is, at that moment, I did not say, great, this has happened for me. No, that's not human, right? I was fucking furious, man. I was like, I say, listen, I didn't want to hurt her, but I did want to kill her, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a rage, man.
At that point, you were hoping that she was cutting those wires while they're still plugged in the wall, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, that would have been funny, right? Her hair all. Anyway, So my point is, it's not going to happen right away. But if you can commit to that belief, things will change. So finally, and I really don't remember how long it was after that. It could have been a day. It could have been 2 days. I don't know. But finally, I sit down in the armchair in the living room and I'm just looking out the window at the lake. And I said what I just said, right? It's what reminded me of this, right? I go, okay, this happened for me, huh? All right, this is going to be good. Explain that to me, right? And so I started to think about it, and it doesn't come to mind right away because you still got residual rage, anger, resentment, whatever, right? It's this process. So the first thing that started to just a little bit take the edge off, in my mind, I said, well, I guess it's only clothes, right? I mean, you can replace clothes, right? And then my mind goes, yeah, but they were fucking nice clothes, man, right? So now you go, yeah, be real here, be real, right? So finally, the light went on. Attachment. I was attached to those clothes. Now, there's nothing wrong with having nice things, nothing wrong with nice clothes, but when you believe it's part of your identity, that it's part of who you are, that's not healthy, right? And so she gave me that gift, that realization. Now, did she do that consciously? Probably not, right? She was in a
Yeah.
conscious mind, she probably wanted to hurt me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I believe there's another depth, right? We're not humans having a spiritual experience, we're spirits having a human experience, right? And I
Mhm.
believe in her spiritual nature that she'd chosen to come in my life and do this for me, to wake me up. And this is just one of many situations, right? So obviously those weren't the only things I was attached to. So it started to snowball where I could see all the things I was attached to and where it all began in my childhood. And so by taking all those mirrors all the way back, I was able to smash all those mirrors, change the pattern, and not have that experience anymore. And by doing that, I started to realize, wait a minute, less is really more. Because if you have things, possessions, there's a reason it begins with possess, because they possess you,
Mm.
right? They really do, right? And I don't necessarily mean on an evil level, but they possess you in terms of it takes freaking a lot of energy to get them, to acquire them. Then it takes you a lot of energy to keep them, to maintain them. You know, a
Mhm.
mansion with freaking gardens and beautiful. You got to freaking pay someone to come out there and take care of it, right?
Mhm.
You got to have the property has to be taken care of. The cars have to be taken care of. They're going to get outdated. The decoration in the
Yeah.
house is going to get outdated. So it never ever freaking ends, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just become a workhorse to pay for it all. And so your
Mhm.
energy is possessed. And your most valuable resource, your time, gets taken away.
The most valuable in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nothing more
Yeah.
valuable than your time, man. I agree.
Yeah.
So she helped me realize all that, right? Now, if I had not had that belief, Eric, I'd still be angry at her today.
Mhm.
I'd still be pissed off about it. So the point I'm making is, again, I'll say it again. Look, if you decide that if things happen to you, now you have a wound. Now you got a wound, right? If you believe that it happened for you and you commit to that belief, I'm not saying you're going to get it right away, but you will if you commit to it once you calm down. If you believe it happened for you, now you're wiser.
I love this because I preach this all the time and I live my life by this. I always tell all my audience and everything, you always got to find the lesson in it. It may be dark, it may be hard, but there's a lesson in it, in everything. There's a yin and a yang, there's a positive and a negative in everything in life,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of trying to find that. And when you go through these things, you grit too. You learn grit. And
Mm,
sometimes, you don't even know that you have this grit because you haven't pulled that power out of yourself yet, but when you find these lessons, that's when you learn that grit to be able to go through whatever it is, or the triggers or whatever it takes, that grit and the power now helps you bypass that, and then you can start helping other people walking through
that's
those
right, man.
lights.
And that's the key, right? Then you can help other people not have to go through it. I
Yeah.
remember when we were talking last time, you used the word grit. It's a great word, man,
Mhm.
because it's like pain can be a healing we need pain, we need grit, right?
Mhm.
We need to have that resistance. We need to, like, having I was thinking about having some grit in your
Mhm.
shoe, and it's a pain in the ass, right? Yeah, it's people think, they wanna save their kids from being in pain. They wanna make it so perfect, like cushion. Screw that, man. You gotta let them hurt themselves. You
Yeah.
gotta let them fall down and not try and pick them up.
Yeah.
Let them get up
Yeah.
because they're learning life lessons. When we were kids, we used to go play in the dirt, we go play in the dike.
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
friend across the street used to eat worms, but he was freaking fine,
Yeah. I did too.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
just
Dirt
depends.
and worms, man, and scratched knees, that's all that mattered, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it builds your immune system.
Yeah, hell
Doesn't
yeah.
freaking kill you. And if we keep these
Yeah.
people, kids so safe, and we wash their hands in that, what's that called? Antibiotic.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
terrible for you. It
I know.
strips away your immune system. It's the worst thing you
Yeah.
can do. But people
Yeah.
don't know because we're supposed to protect our kids. No, you're not. You're
Yeah.
supposed to raise your kids.
Yeah. What it's called? Helicopter parents, right? Or what I think it's called, where
Ah,
they're
yeah,
over
yeah.
top, right?
Yes,
See,
right.
I
Yeah,
I actually,
yeah.
this is funny you bring this up because I've said this a couple other times on episodes, but I was just having a conversation with a stranger yesterday and about like raising kids and how it is and how it is now. And I told him, it's like, see, I raised my kid differently than a lot of people. People may agree, people may not. But my daughter used to race my dog down our hallway in the apartment to our front door, right? So then one time it was just me and my daughter, and she's like, "I want to race you, Dad." I'm like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and she's like, "No, you're not." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass," and she's like, "No, you're not." Well, I smoked her. I haven't ran that fast since I was young, getting ran by the cops, right? I just smoked her.
Yeah.
You know, and then she hit the ground. She started crying. And I turn around, I'm like, "Why are you crying?" She's like, "You didn't let me win." I'm like, "Excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
why the hell would I let you win?" I'm like, "You think
Yeah.
anybody in life is
Yeah.
gonna just give you anything that you ask for?"
Mhm.
I'm like, "No, like, you gotta work for it." I'm like, "If you wanna beat me, you gotta practice and practice and try." I'm like, "I'm your dad, you'll never beat me, but I mean, you know, you gotta practice."
When you're 80
But
years old, you're
yeah,
gonna regret saying that, right? But
yeah,
that's okay. Until then, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully I'll have like a wheelchair with rockets on it, then she's screwed. Or if we're going downhill.
Or you just shoot her. Any one of those things will work, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. I
There
win.
you go. I
No,
win
but
again.
yeah, I mean, and like that's how like it's real life. You know what I mean? It's real
Absolutely.
world. And I
Yeah.
let her, I'm like, no, figure it out. You know, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna, and she's 12 years old. She can make full on meals. You know what I mean? Because like I taught her so she can figure this stuff out, and
Yeah.
she's smart about it. It's cleaning the dishes that I'm having problems with. She can make the dish. She can make the dishes. She just can't clean the dishes.
She can do it,
That's
she
where
can't
it's like.
clean them, yeah. Well,
But
that's okay then she's gonna be able to go out and make money. Then she doesn't
yeah,
have to, right? But yeah, I
yeah,
say that in the book, man. I mean, 'cause I and I meet Tamaz and we go out and we both love backgammon, and I knew that about it before we went out on our first date. So I had a backgammon set up for us to play backgammon. But I say in the book, it's an insult to let someone else win. It's an insult to their intelligence. It's an insult to their self-esteem. I never let anybody, I don't care who it is. I'm going to play the best I can play because that's the best way they can learn and the best
yeah.
way I can learn, right? Because if they
Hmm.
can beat me, hey, great. Now I've
Now
got
you
something
got
to
to
learn
figure
from
it
this.
out.
And I've got to, yeah, right. I got to step it up, right?
Yeah,
This is perfect.
yeah.
And in the first two games, and this is how smart she was, right? We played backgammon, and this night I had it delivered to the place. We were in a cabana, right? And so I had the backgammon set up before we got there. So we played two games, and I won the first two games, right? And so she says, "Babe, I need to take a break," And I go, "Okay, yeah." So that's when I found out she smoked, which was another red flag of many that had already happened, right? But anyway,
Mhm.
so we go down for her to smoke. We come back, and she beats me 3 in a row. She took a timeout, right? Like all the
Mm.
best sports teams do, right? She's
Mm.
smart, right? She broke my pattern, broke my concentration, and then came back and kicked my ass, right? So, but that's what I love. I love someone who is strong enough to figure out a way to win, right? A way to give themselves an edge or a way to better themselves, right? So I love that about her. I love the fact that she was so confident. She was self assured. Why? Because it's a thing that, although most people say, well, you were really confident, but not how I wanted to be, right? There were a lot of
Mhm.
things I was afraid of, right? And that I wasn't confident in. And so I was drawn to that confidence because it was a mirror of me not being as confident in the world as I wanted to be.
Mhm.
So she was sharing or showing me a part of myself that I'd given away that I wanted to reclaim, right? Like vulnerability, right? So
Yeah.
when I went through all these experiences, and I wanted to write the book, I'm going, holy shit. No one would ever know I had a sex room in my house. Nobody. I'd never told anybody that, right? And you go, well, you put it in a book. I know, but I needed to let it out. I know
Mhm.
I needed to realize I didn't need to be ashamed of it. I didn't need to hide it, right? But then you told people you're in a freaking insane asylum. What's that about? Well, because there were silver linings to me being in that insane
Yeah.
asylum. I had powerful, amazing spiritual awakenings through having those manic episodes, that mania. It's as freaking high as a kite. So anyway, and then with having the small dick, yes, there's a silver lining. What the fuck is that? Well, I became an overachiever in the bedroom, right? Because I'm thinking my
Mhm.
dick's not going to do it. Right? So I'm going to have to figure
Yeah,
out other
yeah.
ways.
I can
And so
step
I
it up, yeah.
became amazing in the bedroom because I became really aware of my partner. Any movement when I would do something that would indicate she was enjoying that or she wasn't. And so I was able to tune in to the woman, my partner, in a way that's profound, right? So I
Mhm.
became a bit of a savant in the bedroom. And when we would say, holy fuck, that was amazing. And I would say, because it was a problem. I'll explain why. because they wanted to brag to all their girlfriends how, and I used to say, whatever you do, did something happen there? We good?
Yeah, we're still good. We're good.
So whatever, don't tell anybody. Why? Well, because I would get calls from their girlfriends who were supposed to be their friends in the middle of the night. What are you doing? I'm trying to get to sleep. Well, I'm not feeling well. Can I come over? I go, okay, well, I'm going to say no, right? So that's why I used to say that. But my point is everything, and you said this yourself, right? We've just been talking about everything that happens for you, right? Not to you. And if you're committed to that belief, it may not show up for a while, right? It may not show up for a while. It could be weeks, could be months, but it's there. And if you commit to that belief, you'll find it. So that's two of the things that happened to me as a child. The pattern. So, the pattern of getting overwhelmed and then running away had obviously some negative consequences, but also positive ones. I got to live all over the freaking world, and I never got stuck in a certain identity. What do I mean? Well, if you live in the same town your whole life, everybody knows you as a certain way, as a certain person. And it's very difficult to break out of that, because if you try, people are going to go, you can't do that. That's not who you are. That's not how we see you. They don't say that directly, but that's how they make you feel. And so it's harder to create a new identity. When you're running away all the time, I could go somewhere else and be a completely different person, which made me sometimes think, maybe I got a split personality. But you can change it, and you can be so many different things and learn from each thing, and the relationships that you have change, right? So there again, silver lining, right? So there are consequences and there are blessings in those situations. So I never really had any resentment. I went through a lot more very painful experiences that I'm going to get into when I write another book about my childhood and what went on there, right? Some pretty crazy shit. I was, didn't feel like I had a family. So you're going to find family somewhere. And the chances are, if you don't feel like you have a family, you're going to end up in a family that you should never get into, right?
Yeah.
And end up doing the wrong things. You end up being a rebel without a cause.
I'm actually writing a memoir right now
that you probably wouldn't do, right? But
yeah,
it's okay because you did it and you had a tremendous amount of experience. And so as much pain that I went through from those things, because there was a lot of interactions with the law, right? So even though those things were painful, they gave me a deeper ability to empathize.
Can I stop you right there though?
I've no judgment on any of that stuff, right? And a deeper sense of compassion, which now shows up in my work because I can empathize with people. I don't judge. I can relate because I've been through that pain, and that gives me a deeper sense of compassion, which serves what I do.
Also, can you hear me okay? You probably can't hear me. Yeah, it's okay. So we are having a little bit of sound volumes. Can you hear me now? No? Okay. We will be right back. We had a little sound glitch there, but we're back. So also is like, I was going to say, oh God, now I totally forgot. Oh yeah. So regret, that also comes in regret, right? So a lot of people will look back, oh, I regret this, I regret that, I regret that. But realistically, all of those things that you went through got you where you are today, sitting in that seat. Like for me, I'm sitting here in front of you, and what you did today is put you in that seat in front of me, And like for me, I say this all the time. Yeah, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, a lot of bad things. Do I regret them? No. Do I feel bad about them? Yes, though I do. But I needed to go through some of those things in my story to be able to put me where I am today. And sometimes I was the main character in that story, or if whatever was happening, or sometimes it was someone else that was the main character. And it's hard to explain it. I know what I'm trying to say, but right now it's just not coming out in English.
But I get it. I do. I think everybody totally understands what you're saying. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I totally get it, man. And you say, people have regret, but all those things that happened have made you who you are today. And then you said, well, if I hurt someone, I feel bad. I don't. Yeah. I do not feel bad, because look at all the things that happened in your life where you felt bad and how you've grown from that. It's been the grit, right? It's been the grit.
True.
And so to the point where when I was a kid, because I felt like I was the victim, right? And so I was always on the side of the underdog. And most people are, Eric, because they feel like victims too, right? And we're drawn to that which we can relate to. So I used to feel bad about those things, but I don't anymore. Even though it was unintentional, even though I really don't want to hurt anybody, right? But I recognize some of the things that I did because I was feeling pain, right? And when you act out of that pain, the chances are you're probably going to hurt somebody else, right? Again, it's a mirror, right? So
Hurt
I was
people
just
hurt
listening.
people.
Yeah, people hurt people, right? It's just a sign that we've got work to do, right? And I'm saying I got a lot of work to do, no question, right? But I was listening this morning, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. Anyway, he's very well known right now. He's going to be running for mayor of Los Angeles, right? And I'd never seen him before. Apparently, he was already pretty well known. He'd done a reality TV show a while ago, but for some reason, a lot of people don't like him for it. I don't know. Anyway, the interviewer asked him, he said, well, what happened? You lost $10 million. What happened there? And he goes, I didn't lose $10 million. I spent $10 million. Big difference. And he said, well, but either way, he said, listen, I was 23 years of age. I was 23. I'm not that same person anymore. Right. So, and what I learned from all that was profound. And now I would never do that again, right? But it could have got it out of my system when I was 23. And I thought, and he goes, well, don't you regret it? And he said, no, I don't regret it. And people have said that to me because I've made and lost millions. It drives my dad crazy, right? He goes,
see, I've never I've gone through millions in my black, dark days, I guess you could say, of being involved in the underworld, right?
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it wasn't mine. It's just passed through my hands, right, at that point.
Yeah.
But I did inherit $150,000 when I was 18 years old. And the last word, my grandma was very well off. She gave every one of the kids some money.
Yeah.
And I ended up spending that in 4 months.
Yeah.
And I had the best fucking 4 months of my life. I really did. And people say crazy. I mean, yeah, I wish I invested it into a house, you know what I mean, and have that property. But at the same time, I had a fucking blast. I learned so much. There are so many lessons to be learned. I found out who friends are, what really friends are,
Yes.
I'll tell you a crazy story. Okay. So I had this money and I was seeing this girl. We weren't even seeing. We're just banging, whatever, hanging out, banging, right? And I said, let's go to the bar. So she invites her friend and this other guy. They get to the bar. And I don't know them. I just know the one, right? Mm-hmm. And the girl's like, oh, can we go get drinks? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Boom. They get up to the bar. He turns to me. Never met this guy before. He's a great buddy of mine now. He turns to me and he goes, fuck these women. They just here for your money. Mm-hmm. This chick said, come over here. This guy's got money. They're going to buy us alcohol. He's like, I will buy your drinks all night long. I don't need your money. Fuck these women. I said, you know what? Fuck them. We got up. They went to go get drinks. We got up. We just walked away. And he bought me drinks all night, man. And he's became one of my great friends.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, man. It'd be good for you, right? A lot of guys won't do that because they think it's the wrong thing to do. I'm like, fuck that. If you're going to use me, not happening, right?
Yeah, man.
And I've done that. I've left girls. And I'm just thinking, I left a girl in Vegas, right? People say, that's terrible. No, it's not. Teach her a lesson. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't use and abuse people because in the end, if you do that, they've got every right to walk away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you're able to do that and you think you can take care of yourself, good luck. Go do it. Right?
Well, I'm the type of person, like, I don't give a fuck. I will bring the gasoline and burn that bridge down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care. If you're not bringing good shit into my life, and you're bringing me down and you're causing chaos, fuck that shit. I'm gonna fucking pour the gasoline everywhere I can and light that match. You know what I mean? Because I want good in my life. You know what I mean? And like for something using you, fuck them then. You don't want that.
That's a form of abuse. That's a form of abuse.
Yeah, and they're a fucking leech, and they're gonna pull that goodness out of you. And not just saying that, but I mean any circumstance, they're gonna pull that goodness out of you and just drain you, right? They're soul suckers, right? And it's not just women, but this is men too, right? This is both, right?
Sure.
Friendship, like this is everything, right?
Yeah, I agree, man. So, and this is a different girl, but I actually in the book I did it with Tamaz, right? I left her in Vegas because she was such a brat, right? And she was just out of control. So sometimes you have to set a boundary.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? It's a boundary. Now, was that a tough lesson? Not really for her, but most people reading it, especially women, how could you leave her in Vegas? Oh, my God. The first night we get there, we'd agree because I was doing an event, right? And I said, listen, things are not going well with the events. I need to be really focused when we go to Vegas. We'll stay in the hotel, do the event for 3 days, and I'm going to take you to the Wynn, and we're going to stay there for a while, right? I said, but we got to be focused. I got to get to bed early, right? Well, yeah, honey, no problem. We get to Vegas. We get in the room. We're packing stuff away so I can get up early in the morning. She's getting ready to go out. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing? Yeah, I'm going to go out. We said we were going to go to bed. Yeah, well, you go to bed early. I'll be in later. So here's what I did. I didn't say a word because I knew if I did, the police would be here in no time because she'd call the freaking police, say something was going on, right? So I said, okay, all right, have a great time. So then one of my friends who was working the event with me, I just packed all my cases and went stayed with him, right? So during the weekend, which I didn't find out until later, she was causing fucking havoc, man, because that's just how she is, right? She's causing havoc in the hotel. Eventually, they threw her out of the hotel, right? But that didn't happen until I left. So Sunday night, I'm going, I'm not going to the freaking win with her, right? There's no way she's going to get that now. I'm going to go home, right? So I flew home and she didn't have any money, right? So she had to get her mother to send her some money to Western Union. She went for her mother because she hated to ask her dad for money. He's a freaking billionaire. Her mother is living with her grandmother for reasons we're not going to get into right now.
Yeah.
But I just said, listen, I gotta do something. I gotta draw the line somewhere because if not, I'm already getting fucked in the ass anyway, right? So I gotta try and set a boundary. And I did, and then she's freaking out because she's on her own and blah, blah, blah. But you gotta draw a line sometimes, man. You gotta try at least to set a boundary. And that's
respect for yourself though, too, right?
Totally.
You have to have that respect for yourself to set that boundary,
Totally, man. Yeah. And people don't understand that, that, well, doesn't that hurt her? Doesn't that, what the fuck? How do you think I felt? Right?
Yeah.
I felt betrayed. I felt taken advantage of. And then she wants me to pay for everything, right? And I'm like, no, not happening. You make your own way now. See how that works, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to tell you another story then about, this is a funny story, right? Nothing to do with the book, but it's just a funny story. And you may know about it because it's kind of notorious. Let's see. What's the guy's name? Well, you know who, God, he's a famous singer, black singer. His name is Rick. Oh, I can't remember. And then there's the famous black comedian that was in Beverly Hills Cops.
Oh my God! I was just they have the retake one or whatever, the show or something on Netflix now, and I just saw it. Is it not Martin Lawrence? No.
No.
I'm close, but it's
way back sooner.
Yeah. Okay, no. Yeah, he was in also Welcome to America.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
He was.
Yeah. Very famous. Eddie Murphy. That's
Eddie
it.
Murphy,
Eddie Murphy. Well, Eddie Murphy has a brother called Charlie Murphy.
Okay.
Right? Who's a very funny comedian. He's brilliant. So Rick James is the guy's name. I'm trying to think of Rick James, right? So all these guys hung out, and Rick James also always made Charlie Murphy's life a misery. He would make jokes about him all the time. Anyway, so they're at Eddie Murphy's house, and Eddie Murphy's taking a shower, right? So they're going to go out afterwards, right? So Eddie Murphy just bought a new white.
Oh, I know this.
You do, right? How hilarious is it, right? It's
go ahead, though. Go ahead.
So anyway, this is a famous story that people didn't even know if it's a myth or if it's true or whatever, urban legend or whatever. So anyway, these two guys, actually, you can look it up on YouTube. They tell the story, both the sides of the story. It's hilarious, right? So Rick James is lying on this new white leather sofa with his boots on, and his boots are dirty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Eddie, being the protective brother, says, "Hey, get your boots off the sofa." Rick James goes, "Do you know who the fuck I am?" Eddie Murphy goes, Charlie Murphy goes, "Of course I know who you fucking am. I fucking hang out with you all the time, right?" So he goes, "I'm Rick James. I don't have to take my boots off your sofa or nobody's sofa," right? So anyway, they go backwards and forwards like this. Finally, Charlie Murphy drags Rick James out of the house, down the driveway, and is punching him in his legs, right? Eddie Murphy comes out because he hears the commotion. He's running down the driveway in his towel. He goes, "Charlie, what are you doing?" He goes, "He wouldn't take his boots off your sofa." He said, "Well, okay. But then we gotta help him." And he's punching Rick James. Goes, "I am helping him. He's never gonna get on your sofa with his boots again," right?
There was a whole skit. I think it was Saturday Night Live, right? He's like, "I'm Rick James, bitch."
Yeah,
right?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think it was who's the other guy? He's hilarious too. Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle, that's right.
Dave Chappelle played the part. He did, yeah. Oh my God.
That's great, man.
But the point is, he was helping him, right? He was helping him. And sometimes we need to get our ass kicked to get that help, right? And if that's what we need, that's what's going to happen. And that's what happened to me in this story. I got my ass kicked, man. I tried to set boundaries, but it was pretty futile, right? She would just walk all over them anyway. But it was fun, right? It was fun. And I would ask myself all the time, because, I even say this to people in the book. I go, you're probably thinking I should have broken up with her, right? But listen, if I had, you wouldn't be enjoying this fucking amazing story right now, would you? Right? And I
wouldn't have you here.
That's right. And here's the thing. I would say, well, listen, let's weigh up the situation, right? I can either break up with her and I can go back to a relatively mediocre life, right? Or I could stay with a 5'11", drop dead gorgeous former international supermodel, living with her in a mansion with a sex room, partying all over the place, having a great fucking time. I don't know. You think about it. What would you do? Right?
I probably number 2, to be honest with you. Have a great time, man. Life's short.
Life's short, man. Yes, I'm going to put up with some craziness. She's freaking crazy. But she would say to me, stop complaining. You knew what you were getting into when you met me. I'm never going to be normal, right? This is what you wanted and you love it. You know that. And I go, she's so freaking right, man. I mean, you can't argue with her.
I mean, she told you straight up, right at the, you know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
I would say that's kind of a green flag in a sense, because she was honest with you.
She was totally honest, man. She never pretended to be anything she wasn't. And that was one of the things I admired about her too. She was authentic.
Definitely.
She didn't hide who she was or the things she did. And I admired that about her. Yeah. Hey, listen, I say in the book, I wasn't a victim. I was a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
I volunteered for this, right?
Yeah.
So if I got my ass kicked a little bit, it was worth it until it wasn't. But in the meantime, we enjoyed each other, We were both getting what we wanted from the situation.
And look at you now. You know what I mean?
Now, I'm more messed up than I was before. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean,
I do want to ask, though, why do you call it the Venus flytrap? I think I know why, but I mean... I got an idea.
Why do you think why?
Because it's so beautiful, it brings you in, but then the trap, Well,
it would be it's a great freaking title for a book, but let me tell you how it came about.
Okay.
So when we first met, we met online, right? On an international website. And the reason I tell you that is because she lived down the road from me. I mean, what are the chances, right?
That's crazy, yeah.
Right? It's crazy, right? Synchronistic, the electromagnetic draw of each other, right? So anyway, but I'm online talking to her, right? On the website. And I'm trying to get a date with her, right? And so she finally agrees to go for a coffee with me. I mean, how bad is that, right? A coffee, right? Like, no, zero commitment, right? So she decided she agreed to go to coffee one day, and the next day she canceled that anyway, right? I'm thinking, shit. So then I finally got her to agree to go on a date. And there's a lot of funny stories in between that, but I got her to go on a date. And I'm thinking, I got to tie this thing down, right? I can't let her cancel again, right? So I think I'll buy her some flowers. I'll ask her what her favorite flower is. Then she knows I'm going to buy her some flowers, right? So I'm texting and I go, what's your favorite flower? She said, bird of paradise. And I'm joking with her. I go, nuh-uh, mine too. And then I go, it's a bit expensive though. So what's your second favorite? And
that was my kid's mom's favorite too. Is the bird of paradise.
Right? Yeah. I think it is mine. I think this is just a great flower. But anyway,
it is.
Without any delay, Eric, I kid you not, it came back instantly. Venus flytrap.
Crazy.
And I knew right there and then. My intuition said, whoa, it's ominous. She's dangerous. Right? And then my brain goes, yeah, but I like a bit of danger.
And mysterious, you like that mysterious danger, and it's true.
Absolutely, man. Yes.
Do you know why? It's because as human beings, we want to know certainty, and we want to know certainty in everything. And I say this all the time. That's why we bet on games. We got to know all, the player, the stats and everything, so we can get the right bet to know, or whatever. It's certainty, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so you and it's the chase, and you want to know, and it's like that mysterious, and you want to find it out,
Yeah.
And that's the spark to it.
Yeah. But she also revealed her dark side, her shadow nature, right? And we all have a shadow nature.
Oh, yeah.
But she was prepared to embrace hers, and I needed, again, mirror, to learn how to embrace my shadow side. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to create an image, an identity that's perfect, especially, I was in the spiritual and personal development arena. You almost think that's expected of you, It isn't, but you think it is, right? And so part of this whole process of this relationship of going through this with Tomas was to really own my shadow side. They call it shadow work, right? For example, the sexuality, because we were very raw sexually, right? and to own that and to say, hey, there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? But society tells you that there is, or you tell yourself that there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said, no, I'm going to let it out. That's who I am. It's part of me. I kind of like it, right? And I liked her being dangerous. I loved it, right? I loved that danger. I loved how she could own her own sexuality and she could wield it as a weapon in amazing ways, man, as it explains and outlines in the book. Yeah. So, you hear people say it's all good, and it is. And,
Mm-hmm.
as I write the book, and I've written I've written the book now, right? It's one of three, by the way. I've written 3 books about this whole thing. I thought I was going to get into one book. My point is, writing the book brought it all back to me, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
new, fresh way, because now I was looking at it as the observer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was starting to see things. And as I, do these podcasts and I talk about the book, I get more and more insights all the freaking time. I was walking around the house the other day and suddenly, boom, intimacy. I got issues around intimacy. And I went, wow. So where's that from in my childhood, right? Well, partly is because, like I said, my parents both went through terrible trauma when they were kids, so they tend to take it out on their kids. You don't know that when you're a kid, right? Because they don't come up to the bedroom and tell you, listen, I had a terrible childhood, right? So you don't know. You think it's you. You take that on yourself. Self-esteem issues right there. Then if your mother isn't really nurturing, that's part of intimacy. That's learning how to have intimacy with another person. And then the situation with me going through this trauma as the kid with the small dick, that made me afraid of being sexually intimate, that I wouldn't match up, that I wouldn't be good enough, right? And so that caused me to be afraid of physical intimacy. And that just popped in my mind the other day. And I went, wow, that's something I have to explore. Right?
Crazy. Yeah.
Now,
See,
go ahead.
I do. I noticed that too, like doing this podcast, and like even now, I'm working on a memoir, and even going through all that and kind of reliving these things, and actually, as an adult, really taking the time to like reflect on them. It changes. It really does change you, and it open up, like you're saying, it does open up things and be like, "Oh, okay, that's why that happened, and that was the real reason.
Yep.
And as an adult too, is like when writing this memoir, I've been really like getting into it, and it's even like made me look at things that happen in a different way too, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Makes
So,
perfect sense. Yeah.
but I do want to say, man, we are getting the end. It's been a great conversation. It was a little bit of a hiccup at the start, but I mean it's great, great.
I had a
I
great
just
time, man. Had a great time.
I do want to ask you one more time if you can plug all your stuff so people know where to get a hold of you again, and I can get that up on the screen as well.
Yeah. So I think the first one is the website, right?
Yeah,
VFT 23, because 23 is a special number
it's right there.
for me. I didn't get into that yet in the book, but VFT23.com. Tons of great stuff on there. Stories, blogs, more about the book, more about me, more about Tomas, our backgrounds, a little bit. And there is a ton of really cool information,
You got
posts.
the chapters, the first
All the
three
first 3
chapters.
chapters. Yeah, you can get the first 3 chapters in the link either on the screen or below. So they're free. So you can read the first 3 chapters and pretty much sure you're going to be hooked after that. And then the coaching, right?
Coaching. Yes,
Coaching, yeah. So I'm an amazing coach. I call myself a heartist,
I
right?
like
Because
that.
it's really about connecting with your heart, because
Mhm.
your heart has more cells of intelligence than your brain, right? Most people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you can really connect with your heart and then you learn how to use your intuition, which we all have. But it's like if someone gave you a violin right now, you've never played it before, you're probably not going to be great at playing it. And
Yeah.
so is your intuition. If you haven't used it much, it's like learning how to play a violin. It's very sensitive, but you got to become sensitive to it. So heart is where it's at. And the ancients told us, live from the heart, speak from the heart. If something is true, it's heartfelt, because you will feel, if you get in touch with your heart, you'll feel the vibration of the words that people speak. And if it's not true, you'll feel it. And then the other thing is, after, 25 years of studying personal and spiritual development, I've learned some pretty powerful tools. And that creates a palette of colors that I can use to help you create your own masterpiece. So artist, heart, and that's what I am. So people say, well, what's your program? How does it work? And I go, I don't know. I don't know until we talk. I don't know what things I'm going to need to use. I don't know where you are right now in order to take you where you want to go. So by having a conversation, we can get an understanding of that and what I need to help you with to get you where you want to go. I think that's it. Oh yeah, and then there's Instagram, right? Yeah, I'm really bad at this, man.
I got you, brother. Don't worry.
Instagram, yeah, and of course we got Facebook and everything else on there, and they're all located on the website too. So the links are all on the website too.
Yeah, and all the links will be in the bottom too. So
beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Well, I just want to say I had a great conversation. I really appreciate it, and I would love for you to come back when you get that other book going. You know?
Yeah,
Please.
absolutely, my man, for sure. Yeah, that's book 2 will be coming out very soon.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you're part of the Raw Minds family now, so
awesome, man. I appreciate
let
that.
me know, and we'll make it happen for you.
Fabulous, man. I can't wait. And I want to thank everybody for listening and being here and watching, and I look forward to being back hopefully soon.
Hell yeah, man. Can't wait. Anyways, guys, thank you again so much, and we will catch you on the next one. Take it easy. Bye.
Raw Minds. Men's Mental Health. Hosted by Erick. Follow, subscribe, like, share. For the ones we never meet, you're not alone.